Live from our studio, we're live on DSTV channel 421, Gold TV channel 125, and on all our social media handles. We'll join you on TV. Good afternoon and welcome to The Pulse. This afternoon on The Pulse, government strongly rejects CSOs' claims that John Mahama is interfering in the office of the Special Prosecutor and the Attorney General standoff, insisting the matter is strictly constitutional and beyond presidential influence. We have details as government also announces plans to constitute an implementation committee to kickstart the constitutional review process. Also this afternoon, government to begin full and strict enforcement of sanctions under the amended Public Financial Management Act. We have details, plus the managing director of the Electricity Company of Ghana dismisses claims of a return of load shedding as he insists the country has enough power and enough to generate capacity. We have details as he attributes erratic power supplies, especially in the Ashanti region, to internal infrastructure challenges. And minority in parliament backs government's directive to international mining firms operating in Ghana to shift operations to local firms by the end of the year, but says the directive is not new. Still in parliament, majority and minority divided over the amended Anti-LGBTQ bill as Constitutional and Legal Affairs Committee of Parliament begins stakeholder engagement of the bill following Speaker Babing's referral. We'll take you live to Fiesta Royale for that and more here on The Pulse. The Pulse, as always, is brought to you by Defendrew Cough Expectorant. Defendrew, breathe easy, feel better. My name is Fostina Sarfo. Please stay for details.
Another week is here on the greatest of all time show. My name is Giovanni Clip, and tonight we're bringing you talent. Contestant number one, let's bring Baby Car. Let's bring. You did it for you.
Cut. Oh, there is a leakage.
Where's the plumber? For quality and durability, insist on Syntex pipes.
If you want quality, this be where you belong.
Strong, tough, and reliable. Your perfect match to your trusted Syntex pipe. Syntex pipe, it dey carry water, no wahala. Syntex pipe, it dey make water dey flow. Syntex, and you're strong, and you're tough.
How may I help you today?
We'd like to open a bank account.
Sign here, sign here, sign here, and here. And now you draw direction to your house. I need your thumbprint. And I'll need your birth certificate too. No, I need the original.
A lot has changed since you banked like this. So have we. We've made it easier than ever to open an account online and bank on the go through our mobile app, online banking, and more. EcoBank, a better way to bank your way.
Sign here, and here.
EcoBank, the Pan-African Bank.
You guys are ready for what's about to happen? Only on Joy Prime Television.
All right.
Listen.
Okay.
Yeah. Hey, my name is MC Kofi Darlington. Out here, my sister, the guy is quick. Giving the rappers the platform to show their flow. They go blow. Beats and bars to the hardest thing. You get past split up, the baddest thing. This with the mic, make me see the fire. No darling, cause we know the tire.
That's it. Mike and I are ready. What's a rap? So now you will rap. Beats and bars. You get bars, challenge.
Yo.
This is not not just rap.
This is not just lyrics. This is war on the mic. Yes, you're welcome to Beat and Bars, the ultimate community rap show, live on Joy Prime Television. Ladies and gentlemen, this is where we bring rappers from your community to show us what they've got.
Two communities, two fellas MCs. I'm the guy, Queen Sister Stand the Beat. Hey, guy, and I'm doing this with my brother.
Yeah, you know when the queen is on, the king is on. My name is MC Kofi Darlington, the only MC with a sauce to spice it all up. And ladies and gentlemen, Beat and Bars, we say, you get bars, spit them. All right.
Rounds, freestyle, rep your community and brag. You know what I'm saying?
You heard that. You have just 3 rounds to prove yourself as a rapper. Every other Saturday, live on Joy Prime Television. Make sure you sit down, 8 p.m. Join us with some cool drink and enjoy the party, man. Your pong is smelling good. Beat Bars.
You got bars,
Spit down.
Thanks for choosing us. Well, it's a new dawn for the Black Stars because today the Ghana Football Association officially unveiled the new coach for the Black Stars. Let me take you back to Alisa Hotel. Over the past hour, journalists have been engaging the new coach on his plans and how he intends to take over the Black Stars and also bring victory probably for us during the World Cup. Well, my colleague Daniel Cranting is on the ground. Let's cross over live to him.
Very, huge task and a task that he's accomplished so well. So I'm sure he's coming into it the same way. When he went to Iran, many were not even expecting him to get to the World Cup and get a victory, but he did that brilliantly and managed to get it. So I'm sure he's just trying to play around. Someone may say he may be from fooling, but I think that he's being measured in his, remarks.
Let's talk about style. You're a big advocate for style. You want to enjoy your football.
Yeah.
He skipped that question in a way, talking about style. He said he's a winning manager.
Yeah.
What are you still? Are you going to shift away from what you believe in terms of the Black Stars have to play good football, or for you, once he guarantees the results, you're okay?
Well, I think I know Carlos Queiroz, and just like I said, I had the experience of watching him in 2022 in Cameroon during the AFCON. He's very much pragmatic. He doesn't care about who plays beautiful football, who is lovely, who plays enjoyable football, and that is what I'm expecting from him. All those who play that way will not give out, their style. They will just sit down. Once they get a victory, they're good to go. He's going to give those same vibes Ratome Djokovic gave Ghana. He's going to give the same vibes Milovan Rajevic gave Ghana. He's going to give the same vibes Goran Stevanovic gave Ghana. He's not going to commit so much. Once he thinks that maybe my strongest element is in my defense, he keeps to it. The strongest element is in midfield. He keeps to it. The strongest element is with his attack. He keeps to it. If you look at his result from the last time he handled a team on the continent, Egypt, he got into the round of 16, eliminated Cote d'Ivoire with a pragmatic style, eliminated Morocco, and then went on to eliminate that is Cameroon, who are the hosts, with that same style, just by narrow margins, 1-0, 2-1, penalty shootout victories, and he managed to get there. If the coach is going to give me this result and get me to the quarterfinals of the World Cup, I'll be so glad, and I don't think I'll be so much expectant, especially when this is a very short period.
Okay. Thank you very much, Kelvin Owusu-Ansah. We now have Prosper Kuzo, another colleague journalist who's here. Prosper, you heard the head coach, but let's talk about some of the key things he said. I was just asking Prosper about the fact that he said this is the biggest challenge he's ever faced, considering the fact that he's coached quite some big teams on the continent of South America. We know Colombia is not a small team. Portugal, he's also coached Portugal. Egypt, taking the biggest or the most successful country on the continent into another AFCON final. And he describing this job as the biggest he's ever coached. What are your thoughts on that?
I think he's on point. He's on point. And I think that if I look at considering the circumstances and the short span out of the World Cup, Ghana is rich in history too. Ghana is also a giant just like Egypt in Africa. And I think that, considering the fact that he was with Iran, if you look at, people try and look at the percentage or the winning percentage, but hey, I think if you look at the quality properly and you compare it to that of what we have right now and the proper structures of a really top manager, I think they can do well. And I think that, he's looked at that and he's looked at the circumstances short right before before the World Cup. If he gets over the line, it would be such a big story. If he doesn't, I mean, it's a big thing for his career. So I think that is what he considered in saying that this is why it's probably the biggest job of the biggest point of our job for ahead of the World Cup. Yeah.
When you talk about, or when he speaks about the fact that he's a winning coach, does that begin to shape your mind as to what to expect on the field of play?
Yeah, I mean, there was a question asked in relation to this. There was a question asked about whether he's a defensive coach, and he linked winning as the ultimate, right? And so, like you've said so many times about Arteta, get over the line. You need to win, right? And I think that sometimes in competition, especially for the Black Stars in the last few competitions, we've not started well. So I think that Panama game is going to be very important. And I think that getting the result will be the important thing to Ghanaians. There were times against Uruguay in 2010, against USA in 2010, where we didn't play the most beautiful football, but we got over the line. And I think that winning is important considering the circumstances and considering the fact that a lot of people of Croatia, the quality of England is not easy. If he gets past this group, I think he'd make a step in the right direction.
Thank you very much, Prosper. Thank you very much, Prosper Kuzo. So Musbao and Achu Keros. But I have a fan here from the Ghana Supporters Union. You heard the head coach, you heard Carlos Queiroz. We heard you guys applauding to some of his statements. What's your impression on him?
Oh, Yajinatum. Nanso Ghana, you have one problem. And no net see a ball for on the sign. Sankwamu de Mamia and Kamema coach Carrot Sa Sino Nankwa Chewaye Ghana for men and one yard yapa, but one pet drivers too much. Any papa kunya ball na obet drill he was and so you brought from mobile one more ball, sir. One so my pim no about where so my pim no about where so my pim Nagana dear. The Pacopas who are Drevia will be with our yard dear. And on as a higher and on a Maya goes no. Etika a coach carrots. May Mazasa Yakwana soon. Sir, I dear here at sea and Saipa Aya Drevis. Ghana for me and the Padrevis a pa. Woman chance him. Woman chance him. Naka dear. If Ghana like or not, ya the cap no beba. Says ya me no kasa impo cap no World Cup no. Our international airports, Kotoka International Airport. Cap ni siwa train.
Amen. Amen. According to the fan there, a World Cup trophies at the airport and is waiting for the Black Stars. But thank you very much, Zach and Achu. Back to you guys. We'll try and fish out a number of interviews and get more thoughts from our colleague journalists here. But you've heard the...
Well, thank you, Daniel Cranting. And we're doing the simulcast, and that's why he's referencing our other colleagues on Joy Prime. But then you can share your thoughts with us on all your social media handles, our social media handles. Joy News on TV, your thoughts about the new coach. Well, we'll return with more. Please stay with us.
Hi there. I hope you were able to make your nominations for this year's Impact Makers 2026. Yes, guess what? The judges are set. Just in case you are guessing whether you are making it or not, relax. Let's hear what our judges will be telling us or have been doing in this session of selection.
This session was good. And I just want to thank you people for giving us the opportunity to help in evaluating these candidates for these awards. Because you attest with me that we are in an era where most people are being self-centered. My colleague.
System. Carlos Queiroz didn't necessarily answer that question. He just said he wins. Is that something that lets you prepare your mind for the kind of football he play?
If I got him right, the question was, is he a defensive-minded coach or attacking-minded coach? Yeah. And he says that when he has the ball, he has to what? Attack to score, to win. Yeah. When he doesn't have ball, he has to defend. But in terms of defending, he has to win the ball back. Yeah. And I think that's the right thing he did, or he said. Without the ball, you need to work. With the ball, you have to work. So it's not a matter of he staying back to defend, and then what else? He wins possession, he wants his player to be involved. When he loses possession, he wants his player to be involved, and that is what I'm happy about.
Yeah. He also spoke about egos, something that we've drummed home a lot in terms of the Black Stars, causing some rifts in the dressing room. Not just this current team, but in the history of the Black Stars, you know that egos have been an issue. He said he had no problems with egos, but it's his job to channel that into the benefit of the team. Do you think he can do it, considering the
a coach who has handled Real Madrid, Portuguese national team, Egyptian national team, South African national team? If not anything, he has handled African teams that use home-based players.
Yeah.
I mean, not alone. Be an assistant to Alex Ferguson. I mean, he knows what he's talking about. So current team of the Blasters, which player? So I believe that we need to trust and then support him. He only needs our support. It's just 4 months. He has only 2 friendly matches before the Mundial. And whatever he said, I believe that he puts it into practice, and I'm sure he'll be good to go.
Thank you very much. So those are more thoughts there. Those are more thoughts then for the Black Stars head coach, Carlos Queiroz. But we'll head back to you guys. We'll gather up a couple of interviews. Then we'll be here to talk back on the action. But it's really important. The talk has been said. He said a lot of things in terms of Carlos Queiroz. But now it's time for the action. So Musbah and Achu take over in the studio. And let me hear also what you guys think, because you've been listening to quite a lot of things. Muftar is here.
I had to go and catch the people, Charlie, team. They were leaving, so I had to go and catch them. Sometimes we need to step up and go and drag the people here. I think that the sense I got from here is that let's not raise our hopes. Let's lower our expectations. That's all I can say. I appreciate the fact that the man was very diplomatic with his answers, which is expected from experienced coaches like that. And such coaches will never ever promise you that we will achieve a certain level of success. The best they will tell you that we will work hard, and that's why he told us. You have been speaking to many people. I'm sure you might have heard a lot from them. My interaction with people clearly suggests that he didn't shoot the hopes sky high, and that's a very plus for him. When that happens, you lower the pressure on yourself as the leader of the team as well. So it is important that all Ghanaians throw their weight behind him to succeed. But at this point, let's lower our expectations. Yeah, that's all I can say. Thank you.
So lowering expectations, interesting.
Look, Angela is here. Angela is here. Angela has been trying to join us for a while. No, sorry. Angie, please come this way.
Okay.
Yeah.
Perfect. But I would need to. Hang on. Let me just. It's really hot in this.
Yeah. But talk to us. You listen to the coach. Did he inspire you?
I think the coach spoke with a lot of emotional intelligence, honestly. Not just because he's a senior, but you can see that he was also well guided. You know, this current GFA, you have the likes of Director of Communications, Mr. Henry Asati-Chum, and all of this. It is very important to make sure that whoever is selected to be the coach is immersed in a protective environment, knowing that, you know, at the end of the day, Ghanaians know Ghana and the Black Stars more than any other coach that can come from overseas and just be appointed in a day and respond. But you look at the way he responded, I think it was absolutely good. He's not a controversial person, and I would say that he understands his assignment. Now, my only point here is how much does he understand the assignment? I'm not going to, you know, I'm in no position to say how much he understands it. But I'm just wishing for him that he understands that there is no room to learn. Right now, the Black Stars have learned for decades. Yeah. The AFCON has been, you know, missing from the trophy cabinet for decades, over 40 years. The World Cup, we did well in South Africa, but that is 16 years ago. People are still even, you know, angry about what happened with Luis Suarez and Samajan. There is no room to learn. So I did understand what he said about he plays with a winning mindset, but in worst case scenario, he wins or he learns. But I just want to say this is going to be the toughest job in football in the entire world. I do not think there is a more difficult job than the Black Stars job right now. 4 months to play a World Cup in Trumpland. Honestly, that is going to...
And in fact, he has 49 days
exactly.
to get the team ready for the tournament.
Just exactly.
And all that. That's quite a massive task that has been placed on his shoulder. Was there something you expected him to touch on that he didn't?
No, I think he touched on every point, especially one that he did very, very well is when he mentioned that, look, when it comes to selection of players, he's working with a technical team. There is one based in Ghana, other people based abroad, and he's not going to, get into that whole controversy of I'm picking this player over that player. And we know that in Ghana, this is one of our problems. Yeah. We create controversies because we have emotional attachment, maybe with a player that is playing in whatever, Kotoko, why not we pick this one? And he's not going to get into that. I think that was his most intelligent response, to say, I have people who are going to work on that for me, and that is also the mark of a leader. A leader has to be able to delegate work to people that are abled. Now, if the Ghanaians have an issue with the selection, I think based on the the coverage of what he said for this answer, I think that the Ghanaians are now going to say, well, then we're going to blame your technical people. So it's going to be a matter of, has he picked the right people in his team to select the right players? At the end of the day, as I keep saying, it's not so much about the caliber of the players, it's about the cohesion in the team. We've seen teams that have been able to, achieve amazing things, and it's not even because there are big stars. Again, in the Black Stars, we have Antoine Semenyo, absolutely world class, playing for Man City, scoring the goals, breaking records. But beyond that, the entire team needs to know that when you are playing for Ghana, you are getting an opportunity that hundreds of thousands and even millions of boys wanted to have growing up. And didn't we all want to be footballers? At least I wanted to.
I actually tried. I suffered a very bad injury. I don't want to go back there.
You see, so if you are having this opportunity to wear the jersey, do not think about the name at the back. Do not think about the number. Don't be, I'm playing number 10, I'm playing number 7. You have this slot, because I really believe that God gives a purpose to every person. Sport is also a blessing. So you can make it toxic and say, I'm going to think about, I want to play, let's say, for Barcelona, for Real Madrid, so you play from a very selfish point of view. Or you can say, look, I understand that this is a new dawn for Ghana. It is a new era. We can write the story today, but it needs to be written together as a team. There is no, I scored the goal, I did the pass. We don't care about that. We want a team with 11 players, all with their hands on the trophy.
There should be cohesion within the group.
Absolutely, the word is cohesion, and I think the coach did very well to mention cohesion. Now, how is he going to get this to work in the dressing room? I hope he does. I hope he's able to manage the dressing room better than he did manage this room here, because at some point, people were speaking just too loudly. I was about to say, can we let, can we just let the coach speak? Can we shut up and listen? So we need a coach that will be able to do that. I'm not talking about fear, but I'm talking about commanding the respect that we need to create that cohesion. So hopefully he's the one.
Okay, Angela, thank you very much. That is Angela Senti there, speaking to us about what she makes of the performance of the head coach, the new head coach of the Black Stars, Carlos Queiroz, here at the Alisa Hotel, where we brought you the press conference and reactions of some Ghanaians following that presser. It's been quite an afternoon here at the Alisa Hotel, listening to the man talk to us about what he intends to do for Ghana. He's willing to bring his 43 years of experience on board. Trust me, the entire Black Stars players currently were not born when he started coaching. And in fact, a chunk of the journalists who were here, many of us were not born when he started coaching. So he believes that that experience that he's got is something that is going to bring to bear to ensure that Ghana chalks success at the FIFA World Cup in USA, Mexico, and Canada. Musbao and the team in studio. Please, you take over in studio as we wrap up here from the Alisa Hotel. The unveiling, the new era has begun for Carlos Queiroz. The Ghana Football Association has confirmed, as Joy Sports reported, it's 4 months. It's a 4-month contract that he has signed, and he's coming with a 5 backroom staff to steer the affairs of the national team, the Black Stars. So from the Alisa Hotel, I am Muftau Nabila Abdullahi. Thanks very much for joining us on Joy Prime, on Joy News, and also on Joy 99.7 FM. Continue to follow the rest of our programs and go on myjoyonline.com for more sports stories from what he said here at the press conference. Thank you very much. We appreciate your company.
Well, thank you so much, Muftau, there, just giving us great interactions there. The Black Stars, we now have a brand new coach. We're hoping that he will indeed take us to the World Cup, and hopefully this time Ghana will be winning the World Cup. Well, away from sports, the government has rejected claims by civil society organizations that John Mahama is interfering in the standoff between the Office of the Special Prosecutor and the Attorney General, insisting the matter is purely constitutional and beyond presidential control. 12 CSOs are demanding that the presidents back off the OSP case or face electoral consequences. They argue that the Attorney General's attempt to strip the Special Prosecutor of prosecutorial powers, along with moves by majority MPs to scrap the office, signals a lack of commitment to the fight against corruption. The CSOs say they will file at the Supreme Court to join the case involving the OSP, but government spokesperson Felix Ofosu-Kwakye has dismissed the opposition, and he is actually questioning why they feel that the president is involved in this. We'll hear from him shortly. First, let's listen to Seyon Hosi of the One Ghana movement speaking on PM Express.
Every single citizen must look at our constitution, must look at their policy making in light of that particular promise of delivering probity and accountability. And that's why it tells us to eradicate corruption. If we've created this, it may not be the perfect construct, but our value system should make us deliver a perfect construct. But what we are doing, our value system is actually doing the reverse. We want to be a people who must be told almost everything. We know what we want to achieve. It may not be so perfect in black and white, but our conduct and our management of it must deliver that promise to the people of Ghana. This country and the sovereign will of the people is where power resides. So please, 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 NDC, don't get overexcited about your popularity. It is conduct, unnecessary conduct like this that eradicate your popularity. You're popular today, it doesn't mean you'll be popular next year. It doesn't mean you'll be popular in 2 years. The success of last year's economy does not mean to be the same success of next year's economy. It doesn't mean that Ghanaians will always be remembering that great work you did last year. People vote and people take decisions looking forward at their interest. When they start seeing you doing this, people start thinking that you want to come and loot. The loot that you came around to tell people, aura, you will now be the real aura. The Attorney General has been working. Look, I have followed his work. He's been managing it very brilliantly. And the two of them, he and Kisi is a student. I mean, Kisi is his mentee. We should have had a very perfect situation where we have an Attorney General and an OSP cooperate, share information, share skill, share knowledge on how to optimize this fight against corruption.
Well, we can now listen to government spokesperson Felix Kwakye reject the CSO's position, insisting the president cannot be drawn into a matter which he has clearly stated his position on.
First of all, we have a lot of respect for the work of CSOs, but CSOs themselves are enjoined by virtue of the position they claim to hold in society to make demands and claims rooted in fact, in truth, and then in law. In this particular instance, in what way is the president involved in what is happening? So the OSP is prosecuting a Ghanaian. That Ghanaian goes to court, a court of competent jurisdiction, and challenges the authority of the OSP to prosecute him. He says that according to law, the OSP requires authorization from the AG to prosecute him. A court independently comes to the conclusion that the applicant's position is right, and therefore orders a specific action to be taken. How does CSO then come to the conclusion that the president has anything to do with this matter when government is not a party to this particular matter. The president has on many occasions voiced his support and approval for the work of the OSP. Indeed, when the majority leader and the majority chief tabled a motion in parliament, a bill in parliament, to revoke the act of parliament which set up the OSP, the president publicly requested them to withdraw same, and same was done. The president said that the OSP needs to be given time and space to operate. So there is no dispute and doubt about the president's commitment to seeing the OSP succeed. There may have been public criticism and backlash against the OSP, but it has not stopped the president from publicly standing firm behind him and voicing support for him. But in this particular instance, it has nothing to do with the president. And that is why I said that the claims and demands of civil society must be grounded in truth, facts, logic, and the law. So it is quite unfortunate that they are making a claim which simply does not exist.
Well, let's explore this further. Join me now is Dr. Asa Asante. He's a political scientist. We appreciate your time here on the Pulse. Well, clearly, we're told by government that this is a constitutional matter. Yet the CSOs are threatening the president with electoral defeat if indeed he doesn't back off. Is your position even justified in the first place?
I think I don't understand the CSO's position. Because this matter, somebody had gone to court trying to understand what the law says, interpretation is giving, and that is the matter. And so I'm struggling to understand where the government comes in. I'm really, really struggling. Is there any hand in there that I cannot see? Maybe they can see better. I'm prepared for education on that. Because as the matter is, my understanding, I'm not a lawyer, but listening to people and then reading all that I have read, my understanding is that the authorization is what OSP must get. Is it difficult for OSP to get authorization from AG? If the answer is no, then I don't see the problem. If the answer is, oh yes, it's difficult to seek authorization, then it's a different conversation altogether. If that is not working, all right, my understanding also is that you can also use an executive instrument to make sure that once you pass that one, the OSC can be on its own and then do whatever he wants to do without any authorization whatsoever. Whichever way, should be able to work with that. If indeed all of us are interested in the state fighting corruption head on. So having looked at all these things, my question is the state interested in fighting corruption? If the answer is yes, then what are the things that can be done now that the issue has gone to court and what has happened has happened? What can we do to make sure that the OSP office works and works very well? If the authorization is difficult for OSP to secure, for the SP to secure from the AG, then we can also look at it. But I don't see, the way people are talking, it looks as if this problem cannot be fixed. But there is a solution. And so what are we talking about? If we are damn serious in fixing this problem, there's a way to go about it. To ask the OSP, the SP, to seek authorization. If it is difficult for the SP, then there's a different matter. If it is not difficult, the SP can seek authorization.
But the OSP is already challenging that High Court ruling. We are told that he filed a notice of appeal along with a stay of execution. So he's fighting this. He doesn't feel that he needs authorization from the Attorney General to proceed with his work.
Fine, that's a beautiful thing about it, and I respect that. ASP believes that he doesn't need authorization from the way he looks at the law. And remember, the SP is not also a naive in this area. He's also, astute in terms of his understanding of the law. So he's going to challenge that, and it is rightly so his right to do that. So we wait for the court to make a decision, and then we know who is right, who is not right. And then whatever the problem is, I know there is a way out. Are Ghanaians prepared to help HP, help AG, help the state to fix this problem? I don't see it as a problem at all. Now, because for me, what gladdens my heart is that in all these things, once somebody doesn't understand anything, he goes to court. And we have a court that you and I can trust. And the court will deliver on that. Once we hear the court's position on that, what should be the problem? I don't get it. And then you extend the conversation that if the president doesn't back off, it's going to affect his political fortunes and all that. I have already said that I don't see where the president comes in, no, at all. And that I don't know how it can affect his political chances because he has no hand in there.
We know that politics is a game of numbers. If CSOs are pushing that they may, vote otherwise if the office of the Special Prosecutor is not protected by this government, looking at where you sit from political side, is it even possible for CSOs to wield that much influence?
Oh, CSOs, they have influence. But look, if what they are saying is what they think that voters will stand on and vote against the government, if the government has no hand in that, then I'm sorry. They are missing the point. No. You see, voters look at issues before they vote. It's not because Mr. A or an institution B is talking about it, and for that matter, they will vote along those lines. That is not true. It is not supported by any literature. The real issue is that if indeed the president has a hand in it, then we are in a different, conversation. If the president doesn't have a hand in it, then it is also, we are in a different conversation. But from where I sit, I don't see, unless I am ready, I'm very humble to learn under the feet of the CSOs where the president's hand is. They should point it out to everybody, including my good self. Then we can come along. But where I sit, I can't find it and I can't see. And it cannot be used as a threat against the government if from where I sit, how I see it, the president doesn't have a hand in that. Unless they can convince me beyond reasonable that here you are. This is the hand that we are talking about. And then we can have a meaningful conversation. But other than that, I don't see it because every OSP, the SP is in court. The other person went to court and that kind of thing, So the thing is in the bosom of the court. Let the court come out and what the court says, and let's see whether this problem we can fix it. Because for me, the emphasis is that, one, do we want to fight corruption? Two, if we want to, and we don't want the Attorney General, we have seen that the problem is that the Attorney General cannot go for his own party people when they cross the line. So we want to decouple that office or get somebody who is independent of Attorney General and do the work. If that is what we want, we know how to fix this problem. We are talking as if this problem cannot be fixed, if there is any problem like that. It should be fixed. We are human beings and we have what it takes to fix it. And so why are we talking as if this problem, if indeed it exists, cannot be fixed? Look, there is always a way out.
There's a way out, he says. Doc, stay with me. Let me bring in John Darko. He is legal counsel for the Minority Caucus in Parliament. We appreciate your time here on the Pulse. Because you're a lawyer, this is clearly constitutional, is it not?
Well, it is both constitutional and political. Remember when the NDC MPs, the majority and the majority leader MP, she brought a bill before Parliament to repeal the act for secrecy to intervene.
John, you have to speak up for me. I can't seem to hear you clearly.
Hello, is it better?
Much better now.
Okay, I'm saying that it is both constitutional and legal and political. I was making a point that the secrecy, when majority chief tried to repeal the OSP by power. He said the president called them to tell them to stop, and that is why they stopped. Now, on that score, you remember what the president said. The president did not just tell them to stop. He said that it is premature. Those were the words of the president, that it is premature to repeal the OSP Act and they should be allowed to work for some time. Now, fast forward, the president's own appointee, the Attorney General and his deputy, are the ones who are in court saying that the OSP Act is unconstitutional, and for that matter, the Supreme Court should declare the law invalid.
But the case in court wasn't filed by the Attorney General.
No. So the Deputy Attorney General's colleague in Parliament, in his law firm, filed a petition before the Supreme Court for the Supreme Court to declare the OSP as unconstitutional. Now, the Attorney General goes to court and says that I support this gentleman who used to work with my deputy, and to say that this act is unconstitutional, the act should be declared unconstitutional, especially the section 4(2) of the act should be declared unconstitutional. Who does he work for?
But these individuals filed as individuals, not as the AG and not as the AG's law firm.
No, but you see, that's the thing. We need to understand. That is the policy. The same gentleman works with the Deputy Attorney and the Presidential Advisor. Judge Mutari Bawa works in the same firm with him. So, for anybody looking from outside, this is what we get. That these people have come together and have filed a petition before the Supreme Court. Now, listen to the other side.
Allegedly. We cannot say if that's a fact. Allegedly.
Listen, when the OSP sought to defend the sanctity of the accused, the general opposite, saying that the one who supposed to defend all.
John, I'm losing you again. Please position rightly and make the point.
Sorry?
I was losing you, so I wanted you to position rightly so that you can make that point again.
Oh, shoot. Okay, so let me try that again.
Yeah, so we were at the point where I was just clarifying that you cannot seem to connect the dots because this is an individual who filed a case as an individual at the Supreme Court and not the Attorney General. So we cannot assume that the Attorney General is the one who filed the case.
Look, and I'm saying that, is it better now?
Much better.
I'm saying that for anybody looking at this from outside, you're looking at somebody who works with the Deputy Attorney General and the senior presidential aide, Judge Mutari Bawa. If these people come together to file this, and the Attorney General goes to court and say, I agree with all the things you have said, what do you leave me with? You can only leave me with one and only one conclusion, that is a collusion. In any case, when the OSP sought to defend the sanctity of the institution, the people told the OSP from defending the existence of the institution. One is the agency. The agency said, I am defend the state and not the state institution. Then you go for the instead of defending state, you now go and commit judgment. You now go and say that I have brought my opponent's name. So as observer, there can only one. That this institution, they are under the instruction of the president. If the president tells him not to oppose the application, he goes to oppose, the president should then fire him. And so, if anybody is saying that the president is complicit in the attempt to remove the OSP, I can agree with the president 100%. Because clearly, when those two gentlemen, I'm talking about the majority leader in chief group, brought the bill, the president told them to stop according to and indeed they stopped. And you know, when the president said it, what he told them in December was that it was premature. So now, probably for them, it is time to now collapse the OSP. And that is why I have no problem with anybody who believes that the president is complicit in this attempt to dismantle this institution. No.
But then what kind of influence would you be expecting the president to exert, especially because we argue that the executive is independent of the judiciary? And so why would you want the president to interfere in a case that is ongoing at the Supreme Court?
I'm not asking the president to interfere in the case. The president should instruct his Attorney General because he acts under his instructions. They work for the president. The Attorney General, they are the deputies of the president. And so if you go to court and for you to defend an institution of state, you go to court and you say that I agree with my opponent who wants to destroy the institution of state. What can I say? For any observer, it means that the president is aware the president wants that institution of state to be collapsed. That is why it's a general go to court to say that it should be collapsed.
But the Attorney General, like you rightly said, is also the principal legal advisor to the state. And all he did was admit that indeed, within the Constitution, only the Attorney General can actually wield the prosecutorial powers. And it's stated clearly in the OSP Act as well. He was simply agreeing to fact.
No, it's not clear. It's not as if it's so clear as you are saying, then there will be no matter before the court right now. Some of the high court judges actually disagree with the judge who said that the OSP didn't have authority. That is why some of them still opened their doors and heard some of the OSP lawyers who went to court, I think about 2 days ago or so. So the point is, what is the president's position? Is the president also saying that the OSP doesn't have the authority to ask? The president should come and tell us. Because when they were in opposition, they said that the OSP was good and that when they come, they will strengthen the institution of the OSP for it to work better. So one would want to ask, if this is how you strengthen an institution of state to work better, then we want to know, because we expected that you will probably come and give them more resources, but you come and dismantle the very heart of the institution that its prosecutorial powers are taken. Then how do we take you serious as a president when you promise that you strengthen the institution and then you turn around to dismantle the heart of the institution? Don't tell me it's not constitutional. It is constitutional. It has worked for the past 7 to 8 years without any let or hindrance. It is only after this OSP started looking into the NDC that the government and its members have come to realize that the institution is not constitutional and so they will fight against it.
Allegedly.
That they are running away from accountability. They don't want to be held accountable for the US.
Allegedly, John. And just before I let you go, another strand to the conversation are concerns that indeed some legal brains admit that there's a constitutional problem. And for us to fix the Constitution, would have to go and do a referendum. As the minority, because the NPP was in power when this office was created, you agree that's a constitutional problem, don't you?
There's no constitutional problem. There is no constitutional problem. We don't have any issue. The law has worked for the past 7 years. Let it work. They should allow the OSP to work. These people are doing all this because they are afraid that the OSP is coming after them. The president should let us understand. When he said the repeal of the OSP was premature, what did he mean? Did he mean that it was not ready, they were not ready to destroy it in December, and now is the time? The president should tell us.
John, stay with me. Let me bring in Dr. Asa Asante. Clearly, the minority says this is political. I want to get your thoughts on that.
I am still struggling because Mr. Dalton did say, and he keep on saying that they want to destroy the institution and all that. I'm not a lawyer. He has a superior understanding of the law. But my difficulty is that if somebody goes to court to, as it were, try to understand what the law means, does it mean the president is destroying institution? But I don't get it. But he, as I defer to him because he has superior understanding of the law. Mine is ordinary man understanding. But from where I sit, if I don't understand anything and it's a law, I have a way of what? Trying to find answers to that. And that is the court. So if we are in court, the people are in court, why can't we wait? The court decide on it. If the court decide on it and it is not what we think and it will, affect the office of the OSP, can't we as a society or as a political entity, can't we fix the problem? Whatever. We are talking as if, even if there is something, a ruling to that effect that, look, the OSP cannot operate, it has to take some time, blah, blah, blah. Look, we as a society can look at it. The lawyers themselves and other people can put their heads together and tell us the way out to this problem. But from where I sit, anybody who don't understand any piece of legislation and all that, he has every right to go to court and seek redress and seek what? The court's direction on that. So if the court decides and we think that that will not what? Ultimately address our problem, we as a society, are we throwing our hands in despair and saying that we don't have solution? I think whatever the case is, if that's why I put the question, if we are interested in fighting corruption, we will find a way. I trust the lawyers. I trust the politicians in parliament and all that. When they put their heads together and they want to fix the problem, look, they will fix it. I have no doubt in my mind. So the noise about it, I'm not worried. I'm waiting patiently when the court speaks on it.
Dr. Asante, we seem to have lost him, but I just wanted to find out from you, once we get your connection back. It appears both political parties, the NPP and the NDC, they're playing politics with this issue. How can we isolate state institutions from the influence of politicians? That's a question I'll be asking you when we have clear connection to Dr. Asante back. But I still have with me John Darko. There are also lawyers who argue that indeed, when the act was framed that gave powers to the operation of the Office of the Special Prosecutor, the government of the day was well aware of the bottlenecks, but you were simply playing to the gallery. How do you respond to that criticism?
This was a government that was willing and ready to fight corruption, not that the government was playing to the gallery. All these issues we are talking about, as soon as they just came, they were debated and eventually the people voted on. And they felt that the law had to pass. And so I don't see where playing to the gallery is, because we all, for this law, you remember in 2017, there was that for an independent institution that would prosecute without influence from the executive. That was the whole idea. When the OSP Act was being put together, the agents office was there. We have always told that the agents office was there, the constitutional police, that the prosecutorial power was there. So, nothing. So let's not tell as if this is only a classic issue.
John Darko, you still have to speak up for me. I'm struggling to hear you, and I'm sure our audience as well. It's a technical problem, I think, but let's fix it. Try position rightly and let's try again.
Is it okay?
Yes, much better now.
So I'm saying that we've always known this position. Before the OSP office was set up or the act was passed, the AG's office existed. We have always known about Article 88 of the Constitution. So let's not pretend as if it's something new. But the point is that nobody played to the gallery during the passage of the law. All of us, every Ghanaian, we were all saying that we needed an independent institution that would be able to prosecute corruption and corruption-related cases without an executive influence. Remember that we didn't want a situation where the MP for Border East will be prosecuting Yamin, and you will look at Yamin's face, another NDC organizer, and he says, I am not prosecuting you. Because you see, in this country, we know when the NDC came to power, all the cases that were against NDC members, the NDC member for Bogatanka discontinued all the cases in his capacity as Attorney General. And so this is what we wanted to avoid, a situation where political parties and the executive will influence the cases that will go to court. It was that reason that informed the previous administration to set up that office. And that office has functioned for at least the past 7 years. So are we now, as Ghanaians, are we now saying that we don't want an independent body, we don't want an institutional state that will not act like the way the NDC MP for Bogatanga is acted by entry of nolli prosequi in all the cases against the NDC functionaries? Is that what we want? And so let's be honest with ourselves. Unless we want to fight corruption head on, or we don't. If we want to fight corruption, and especially political corruption, head on, then we need to have an independent body like the OSP. We debated all of this. We debated Article 88.4. It was debated in Parliament. And the conclusion was that by the establishment of the OSP Act 959, you could create the authorization and give it to the OSP to function. And the OSP has been functioning since then. And so for you to now come to power, and you have been praising, hailing the office and the work the office has been doing, until it turns its eyes on you, then we want to question your sincerity when it comes to the fight against corruption. Because until the OSP tell us that on the NDC members, the NDC members were ailing the OSP and the OSP office. So what I'm saying is that now the focus of the OSP is on the NDC and they don't want it. They are running away from accountability.
I've heard you and other lawyers argue that we need to create an independent body to fight corruption that wields independent prosecutorial powers. And the government of the day say, indeed, they agree, but it's a constitutional problem. We need to fix the constitution. As the minority, do you agree that it's a constitutional problem?
I've mentioned that, look, the Article 88 and the Section 4 of 959, in my view, they don't conflict. Now, as a country, I'm a lawyer. I understand when Supreme Court makes a decision. When Supreme Court makes a decision, it becomes binding, it becomes part of our law because we practice a common law system. If the Supreme Court today makes a ruling, one way or the other, it becomes part of our law, and we work with it. I don't believe in rushing to amend our constitution every night. Then I've made that point somewhere. The U.S. Constitution to over 200 years, we had just about 25 amendments. So let's not worry so much. Again, as a law-abiding citizen, if the Supreme Court did make a decision about the case that has been called one way or the other, we will abide with it. But as it stands, I believe in my view that 88 and Section 42 don't conflict. They can still work together as it's been working for the past 7 years. They are fighting it because the OSP. Now, you see, they want a situation where when the OSP wants to prosecute an NDC member, they will go to the NDC member for Bogatanga East. For clearance, then the NDC member for Bogatanga East will obviously deny them the authorization, just as he has reviewed all the cases against the NDC members in this country. Let's see that.
Allegedly,
why they are running away from the US.
These are allegations we cannot prove, so as Joy News, we disassociate ourselves.
Is the Attorney General of the NDC member for Bogatanga, did he not withdraw all the cases against the NDC functionaries when he became the AG? Are these allegations? These are facts, man. Let's not do this to ourselves. I am saying that we know the reason why we passed the OSP Act was to take that power away from the executive and give it to an independent body. The NDC is trying to destroy it. They want to bring it back to executive influence.
Thank you, John Dark, who is Minority Legal Counsel. Let me wrap up with Dr. Sir Asante. We're hearing from both political parties play politics with this. How can we ensure that we protect state institutions from political interference? Doc?
Yes, hello.
I'm hoping you can hear me.
Yes, I can hear you well.
Great.
Please go ahead with your question.
I'm saying I'm wrapping up with you. We're hearing from both political parties play politics with this. How can we ensure we isolate our state institutions from political influence?
As for political influence, it's difficult for you to insulate the institutions against political influence because the institutions are manned by political entities or appointees of political authority. But we are saying that is why we have rules. We are aware that definitely somebody must appoint somebody into those offices, but that's why we have rules. We have rules to regulate their conduct so that even if they deviate, they don't deviate so much. But I still disagree with Mr. Darko on some of the issues because I believe that, look, let us, for purpose of this conversation, let's say that we are going to wait for the court to come out with their verdict on this matter. And if the court come out and it doesn't favor any of the groups, would we say that we are destroying institutions? We are not. That's the position of the law. And even if it...
Oh dear, we seem to have lost Dr. Asante again. But point well noted. Thank you so much, gentlemen, for your time here on The Pulse. Well, away from that, the managing director of the electricity company of Ghana, Kwame Kwekpena, has dismissed claims of a return of load shedding, otherwise known as DUPSO. Parts of the country, especially the Ashanti region, have in the past months been experiencing erratic power supply, adversely impacting economic and social activities. However, the managing director of the power distribution company says the country has enough power generation capacity, as he attributed current challenges to internal infrastructure challenges Popena has been inspecting key infrastructure projects in the Ashanti region to facilitate improving power supply to the region.
Funding, we cannot give you an exact timeline.
So can you confirm that we are not experiencing load shedding?
We are not experiencing load shedding because we have enough generation. We are not experiencing doomsday. Once in a while, we have constraints in our ability to move the power to customers. And when that happens, we need to take some people off. Or the line goes off by itself because we have devices that control how much power is going out. If what is demanded on the network is more than our capacity, then the devices will go off, will take the line off. So we are not experiencing load shedding.
Can you get some figures how much is involved?
So far, if I tell you how much is involved, it's a lot. But we are prioritizing it and we are taking out the critical ones. So the project manager will tell you how much this particular project, this link between Aumaso and airport, how much it costs.
And it's all part of the capital investment project?
It's all part of the ECG's capital investment project. If you talk about capital investment project in the power sector, that includes even the transmission grid. But for ECG, yes, this is part of it.
Well, joining me now is Emmanuel Bright-Kweku. He is with the team. He joins us live from the Ashanti region. Emmanuel, what else have you been up to?
All right, so firstly, we have been moving across the Ashanti region from specific areas. This morning, we started all the way from the Ridge and bulk supply points in the Ashanti region, where the MD started his tour in the region. So there, they said that they needed some infrastructural upgrade, particularly in terms of transformers. And so for that place, that is what is going to happen there. Once we were done with the rich bulk supply points, we moved on to the Minabwedi enclave, where the ECG is undergoing some projects, and there's a project currently ongoing in that area. And they have mounted some pylons to help with distribution lines in the area, and that they explain that once they are done with this project, in fact, there is a bit of an obstruction on that stretch, and so for them it's quite a challenge. They are unable to actually suspend, or they are unable to actually distribute the lines or mount the lines, the power lines on that pylon. That's because of the obstruction. They tell us it's a bit swampy, and so they're unable to continue. And it's also interfering with some lines from Gridco. But they have assured that by the close of the last quarter of this year, they should be done with that particular project to improve power supply. Once we're done with that, so the Minabwedi enclave, we moved on to Fumusa, and that's also a similar challenge that they are having over there. But they are trying to move or upgrade their system or their power lines from a 260 square meter voltage to a 400 one. And so there's a bit of a challenge with that because it's also interfering with Gridco lines. Once we're done with this particular place, we moved on to the Chronum stretch, where currently, if you would remember, we did a story on how the ECG is the Barakesi Dam, the Ghana Water Limited, was complaining about power outages that's really affecting them and made them lose some significant amount of water that they needed to produce to the rest of Kumasi. So we moved to that stretch where the ECG says they have undergoing a project to improve the power supply to that stretch. And so for that unit, the Barakesi water treatment plants should expect their own lines moving, and so they will not tap really from the rest of the greater Kumasi. And so they are also doing a project on that stretch to improve power supply to the Barakesi treatment plant to ensure that residents in Kumasi can also have water, and we not really experience these erratic water supplies for Steve.
And then I know that yesterday you engaged some business operators, and all they're asking for is at least notification so they can plan with their businesses. Did he address that? Will they be at least publishing notifications ahead of time in certain areas, at least?
Okay, so from what we understand, because they are using their social media platforms, if you go on Facebook and the rest, sometimes they make these announcements there. But unfortunately, for a majority of the residents here, they are not really privy or savvy to some of these social media platforms. But they tell us that with this WhatsApp platform that was announced by the energy minister that they were going to deploy or they were going to harness, that they would ensure that all the stakeholders in the energy value chain could actually come on board and also have a lot of people, the consumers themselves, use these WhatsApp platforms to have, if they have any issues, they can easily relay that to the power distribution company. But for now, it's just the social media platforms and then the WhatsApp platform that they announced that they will be using.
And since they've been on the ground today, can you tell us if indeed there has been any improvement in some of the areas they've visited?
For now, we understand that some parts of Kumasi still experience these power cuts. In fact, they are trying their best at their end to, this capital investments they announced earlier this week. They are trying their best to upgrade their systems because they tell us that it's not really about the power generation, but it is within their systems to improve upon what they have. In fact, they explained that, as you rightly heard the MD say, they explained that some of the lines that are going into the households, because the demands are very high, the original load over there will cut off because people are now demanding higher on that, let's say, a particular line. And so it will be difficult for them, or sometimes the power lines actually automatically goes off. And that's why there's a need for them to upgrade or sometimes inject more of the energy in some of the distribution lines that we're having here in the Ashanti region first.
Thank you so much, Emmanuel Bright Kweku, joining us live from the Ashanti region. Well, away from that, Ghana's High Commissioner to South Africa, Benjamin Kwashi, says they have advised Ghanaian businesses in South Africa to close down their enterprises and remain law-abiding. He revealed this during an engagement with Emmanuel Asamoah, the Ghanaian victim of a xenophobic confrontation in South Africa. Here are excerpts from that engagement earlier today.
Very well. So Ima came over today. We've had extensive discussions. I have also expressed the goodwill from His Excellency the President and also the Honorable Minister Samuel Okudzeto-Ablakwa to him that we are here to serve him. We are here to ensure that we protect the interests of the Ghanaian people. Our concern is to make sure that he's okay, and he's right here with us, believing that whatever we are doing diplomatically to solve the problem, we work together with both governments to ensure that it's done. Ima, who some kaka of so catch it done for now.
Some kaka mechanics, Nihuye, the course on the ANA, I don't know my MS Animets, and go pound one in your Anton, no way. Yes, many high commission were hand up here, and a young good town with you until the Biaboko.
Say catch we boots your force of more Ghana, and there's all my thing by it's about Tampa, whatever big talk much for you. Amen. And to encourage the Ghanaian population that the situation is dire, we understand. Let's continue to be law abiding. Let's continue to respect the rules and regulations and the rules of engagement as migrant citizens in this country. I think that whatever it is that we do, we've always been noted as Ghanaians to be law-abiding. We've always been noted as being people who don't foment trouble. So let's not go that route yet. Let's continue to engage with them. And I'm sure that it's just a matter of time. Everything will be all right. And whatever the Minister, Honorable Okudzeto-Ablakwa, together with the good Minister of Department of International Relations, the Honorable Lamola, are doing, will be able to resolve the issue, and then we move on. So thank you to all Ghanaians, wherever you find yourself. As your servant leader, I ask you to be law-abiding. I ask you to be patient. We've asked some of you, for example, in Mtata, not to open your shops today. We'll be sending that advisory to most of the other provinces where we pick up any information. Our belief is that let's work together to ensure that we don't have casualties. Let's work together to ensure that whatever it is that we do, will continue to foster that bilateral relationship that we have between South Africa and Ghana. Thank you. Thank you.
Well, let's explore this further. Join me now is Tandai Mbanje. He's regional governance expert. We understand that South Africa President Ramaphosa addressed the press moments ago. Do you know if he touched on this matter?
Good evening from South Africa. Unfortunately, I was not able to listen to the president's address. But I've been following other remarks from the Commissioner of Police, also the interaction between the High Commissioner and the Honorable Minister of International Relations South Africa. So I'm quite privy with that, and also the statements that have been issued by human rights groups in South Africa, urging citizens to not to take the law in their own hands, but to leave the law enforcement to do their work.
And then you have been largely involved in some of these things when it comes to advocacy and what have not. Some people argue that with the tangent South Africa is going on, they may isolate themselves from Africa. What's your thoughts on that?
I do not necessarily think that South Africa will isolate itself from Africa by a failure to address these issues adequately. I think it's a small segment of the population that involved largely in hooliganism or in these vigilante groups that seek to enforce immigration laws on behalf of the police. And there is no consensus. I think many South African citizens, many people of goodwill, they condemn violence. They understand the history of South Africa and how connected it is to Africa and the African nations that helped in the liberation of South Africa, and how they've continued to have strengthened relations between South Africa and Africa. So we cannot really generalize based on a small segment of population that are acting outside the law.
And then we're just finding out that although the South African president addressed the media today, he failed to touch on the issue. What are your thoughts about the silence? We'll come to you for your reaction on that. But let me bring in Agyeman-Rawlings, who is an international relations expert. I'd like to bounce off that question on you. The South African president today met with the press, but was silent on this matter of xenophobic attacks, especially targeted at Ghanaians. What message does this send to the Ghanaian community and Africa at large?
Well, I think that the president should be aware of this development because I know this is not the first time this thing would have happened in South Africa. I'm hoping that he's aware of the development, but he is probably leaving it for the right channels to deal with the issue. And so for now, I don't think that this cast a negative impression, right, on the president and South Africa's position on what is happening to African migrants in that country. I was hoping that because this has happened once too many, he probably would have.
Nana, I keep losing you, so if you can speak up for me so that I can hear you clearly, then make the point.
Can you hear me now?
Loud and clear now.
All right. So the point I'm making is that I'm sure that the South African president is aware of the current development, but probably he is leaving it in the hands of the right authorities or right channels to conduct their investigation before he says something about it. Although I would have wished that because this has happened one too many, and Ghanaians have been caught in this kind of situation, it would have been a good opportunity for him to have mentioned something about what is happening, so not to create the impression that he is unconcerned because this has diplomatic implications. I mean, from yesterday to now, I think that most people are interested in what is going on in that country. And so it would have been a good opportunity for him to have had a word or two about the current situation. Unfortunately, I do not think if this situation continues like it happens every year or every 2 years, indeed it's a diplomatic embarrassment to South Africa. And unfortunately, I don't think this would be the last time this, will be happening. Whether it's a pocket, a few people, vigilantes, groups that are conducting these kind of activities, I do not think that this is going to be the last time, this is happening, if you ask me.
And that is quite worrying if you feel this is not the last time it will be happening. But how can we deal with this decisively, especially, and protect Ghanaians in South Africa?
So the thing is that if Ghanaians are undocumented in South Africa, then you see the thing is that while you are advising the South African people or the South African government, and even before I come to your question, I think that one of the diplomatic pressures we can bring back to South Africa is to take the issue beyond the bilateral engagement Ghana's foreign minister is having with the counterpart, the foreign affairs counterpart in South Africa. I think that the way things are becoming escalating and getting out of hands every now and then, I think that this is discussed to move beyond the bilateral engagement and some pressure be brought on the South African government at the African Union level. I keep saying that beginning the conversation, the narrative and the conversation about this xenophobic attack are as important as the manifesting outcome of the conversation itself. And so I think that this conversation must begin at state level. But what we're doing, I think that Ghana's foreign ministry is we also have to start doing our homework well and try to deal with this issue of undocumented migrants in South Africa, because we have to be critical about this. We have undocumented African migrants here in Ghana as well, that we keep sending them back to their respective countries because they are undocumented. And in some instances, they are a nuisance, to our public spaces. And so if you are doing this to other African nationals here in Ghana, then you might also be advising Ghana's undocumented migrants, Ghana's undocumented nationals in South Africa. Now, when you have done with that, when you have dealt with that, then this diplomatic engagement bilaterally, because if documented, legitimate Ghanaians are in South Africa and they are going about their business, that is no way they should come in harm's way. Of course, we understand that crime in South Africa is also another issue that we have to talk about. But then this is when you begin the diplomatic engagement, and the arrangement with the government.
And under international laws, really, what obligation does South Africa have in protecting foreign nationals in their country?
Well, I think that it's one of the issues of state responsibility. Because if these individuals are in the country, they have legal permissions to be there. But even if they don't have legal permissions to be there, that is not the way you deal with them. We've seen people harassing African migrants on the street of South Africa, saying they are parties as immigration officers or police officers, and these are civilians. So there is a responsibility to protecting these migrants, even if they violated laws. There are processes that you should take them through, and not for them to be harassed the way they have been harassed by indigenous South Africans. And I think that the government has a responsibility. If these people are undocumented and they're not supposed to be there, deal with them the right way. But they have to be protected. Then we also have to protect them, because the point is that there are also South African migrants living in Ghana and other places. I can count 6 or 7 multinational corporations that are being run by that are owned by South African people. The danger is that what if eventually other African countries also begin to retaliate, to take matters into their hands and decide to deal with South African migrants in their respective countries? We do not want that, because 2 wrongs don't make a right. And so out of these possibilities and conversations, it is even more imperative for the South African government to begin to deal with these issues, back home in South Africa. It's rather unfortunate that the systemic deficiencies within, the post-apartheid South African state, has exacerbated what you call the black disempowerment, the black empowerment project. And indigenous South Africans feel, black South Africans feel that, other African migrants, whose nationals, other African migrants in their country are responsible for the economic, situation. It's rather unfortunate, but this is what is happening. So I think that this issue really has to be taken up, beyond the bilateral engagement, at African Union.
Nana, stay with me. Let me bring back Tendai, because you're in South Africa. So I'm wondering, what are ordinary South Africans saying about this? Is there empathy for foreign nationals, or the hatred seems to be growing?
Thank you. I think the South African media has not been really reporting on the matter, because it's really considered a very isolated incident. And it's not being seen as xenophobia here. It's seen as criminality of a certain vigilante group that is trying to enforce immigration laws. It's seen as an immigration issue, and it's also seen as isolated, like I'm saying. And the reason why it's not being reported as which the xenophobic issues should be, is that there's a tendency of when media reports things of this nature, violence can spread like fire. So you realize that they are very isolated. It's only News of Africa, but when I was looking at media, where the police commissioner was warning those who are South African citizens who are trying to enforce immigration laws to stop that and to leave the work of the law enforcement to the law enforcement. So it's not being really seen as xenophobia here, it's seen as criminal behavior.
And how are local authorities responding to it? If they see it as a migration problem, how exactly are they dealing with it? Because apart from Ghanaians, there are other immigrants in South Africa.
Yes, I've been actively following the statements and the information that is being released by the Commissioner of Police in KwaZulu-Natal. There has been deployment to ensure that there's law and order, and obviously also at the Ministry of International Relations, there's been efforts to engage various diplomatic missions, including the Ghanaian diplomatic mission in South Africa, to ensure for the Republic of South Africa to emphasize that it is really working to ensure that everyone in South Africa is very safe, and that criminal behavior is addressed within the confinements of the law of South Africa.
And we saw in the video vigilante groups doing the job of immigration officers. Is it something that is of concern to the state, especially security officials, because of how they handle some of these migrants?
Well, certainly. Remember, also South Africa is the year of elections. We are expecting in November, early November, local government elections. So you see that in various municipalities, the tensions are rising, the temperature is heating because of issues of service delivery, among other things. So you realize that these are some of the things, it's really political, and one could say as well, where you see the emergence of these, but these are people who in certain municipalities that are thinking that they can enforce, they feel like that the government is not doing enough. But however, since the new Minister of Home Affairs, when the GNU was formed, there's been progress in terms of how that department is functioning, and also there's been progress in the efficiency. So there, of course, there still remain a challenge and gaps in the work of law enforcement and Home Affairs, but I think they're doing their best. But obviously, You cannot expect a miracle when there have been years of incompetence, also years of failed governance, failures also in the part of the governance of South Africa.
And Ghanaian businesses are being asked to shut down temporarily. What impact is that likely to have on the South African economy?
Well, I'm sure many Ghanaian citizens who are having businesses in South Africa, they employ South African citizens, and also they offer their services to South African citizens. And so it's twofold. Obviously, it impacts the economy in the sense that the tax revenue that the state gets on a daily basis because of formal business transactions can be lost, and also the employees are unable to work, and also the production or whatever business it is, it does not benefit either Ghanaians or South African citizens in general who use and utilize those services. So of course this has just happened within a matter of few days. Of course this group has been operating for almost 3 weeks now. But if it prolongs, then it will have an actual, tangible, and real impact that South African economy loses revenue. But if it's addressed within a matter of days, like if it's completely addressed with no time, I don't think there will be much impact.
And stay with me. I'll come back to you because I want to still deal with the impact that we're likely to face. Let me go to Nana at this point in time, Nana Mriku. We're just hearing that in South Africa, this is not being reported as a xenophobic attack, but rather as an enforcement of their laws when it comes to criminal activities. Your thoughts on that?
Well, I think I disagree on that.
Nana, I can't hear you. Please position rightly and make your point.
Yeah, I think I disagree on that. I think it is just an attempt to sort of, it's collateral, it's, how do you call it, damage control, in my opinion. Because these things have happened. I mean, you and I have witnessed a number of these attacks on African immigrants or immigrants in that country. And, you know, it's to me, I don't really see it as, it's a kind of, but you can't take away the xenophobic aspect of this whole conversation. Like I said, I think it's damage control, but and probably that is why, in my opinion, the president hasn't given it the kind of coverage that it deserves. You know, so as not to give it, you know, much attention. Because if you are treating it as a non-xenophobic attack and a crime, then you don't need the president in making a statement about it. But I think, once again, it's damage control. Because you've seen these things one too many, and it will be very difficult to convince anybody. You know, when people are moving from place to place and probably looting, closing down shops, and asking.
Oh dear, we seem to have lost Anamriku, but we'll try and reconnect the lines to him because I wanted to find out from him in cases like this where a Ghanaian national is found to be breaching the laws, but he's abused in the process. What legal avenues can he explore when it comes to international relations? What exactly can we do to deal with that? But when we reconnect the lines and get to Nanamerica, we'll talk about that. But then realistically, let me come back to Tendai. What must change in South Africa to ensure that this concerns do not arise in the future?
What must change is simply the understanding that not everyone who's on the South African soil is illegal, that there are so many migrants who are staying in the country legally. And I think that's the perception, that perception, particularly in high-density suburbs, needs to change. But most importantly, apart from the perception of having so many illegal immigrants, I think there is a need for active law enforcement to address these issues and also to have early warning mechanisms, effective early warning mechanisms that kind of detect this before it spills out of control or before it happens and prevent them I know that many countries, they invest on intelligence, they invest on information gathering. I think that needs to be done, and to be able to deploy law enforcement or to deploy mechanisms or tools that are able to hold or to curb this kind of violence before they actually erupt.
And then realistically on the ground, each time we hear of attacks such as these, the concern from South Africans is really that the job market is choked. Paint a picture for me. What's the unemployment rate in South Africa as we speak, and how dire is the situation?
Well, I'm not have the statistics on my mind as we speak. I would want to guess, but the statistics of unemployment are quite very high, particularly among youths. And unemployment in South Africa has been accumulating over years. It's a genuine concern of South Africans wanting opportunity. We must, I must confess that I'm not South African myself, but it's really a genuine concern. I've worked with South African communities, and poverty is still a reality. South Africa is one of the most unequal societies they've reached. The wealth is still in the hands of the white minority, and the black majority has remained poor, impoverished, and living in very dire conditions. So such attacks often also occur as a result of a government that fails to effectively listen to its people. Not to say that they are justified, but there is need to dig deep and actually address the root causes of this through offering tangible opportunities. Also, if you have been following, there's been commissions going on in here in South Africa. Looting of public funds, corruption, and so forth has been rampant. Money that could have benefited the South African public, particularly the black majority.
Thank you so much, Tende. Let me wrap up with Dr. Miracle. I'm told I have clear connection to him. Oh dear, I'm told I just lost him. But you're still watching the polls. Please stay with us. We'll be right back. When we return, we'll take you to Parliament and tell you what exactly the minority is pushing for after this quick turn.
Grow strong, grow healthy with KittyVite, distributed by NS Chemist Limited. This advertisement has been vetted and approved by the FDA.
Hi, now let me share my wildlife experience with you at Safari Valley Eco Park.
Welcome to Safari Valley Eco Park.
Our electric shuttle pulled up, and in no time our tour began. We were surrounded by wildlife from the moment we entered the Eco Park. We were greeted by experienced tour guides who took us through orientation and how to better enjoy the experience. Watch these animals roam freely in their natural habitat undisturbed by our presence. We saw zebras, sable antelope, brown crane, mara, silky chicken, nyalas, Shetland ponies, and so many animals I just couldn't keep up. Our tour guides taught us so much about the wildlife, their behavior, and how to interact with them. I even fed them. We also went fishing on a man-made canal. Then we took a break to have lunch in this serene environment. All this amazing experience for this price for adults? This price for teenagers. And this for kids. It's a bargain. As the sun began to set, it was time to go back home, but not before dinner by the campfire. It has been a thrill of a lifetime, and I can't wait till my next visit.
Safari Valley Eco Park, bringing you closer to nature.
Hello everyone, welcome to the Spot Furniture, where we turn your dreams into reality with our exquisite furniture. My name is Agyeman-Rawlings. Let's get started. These section of sofas are one of our best sellers. They are perfect for family gatherings and a cozy movie night. Here in our dining room section, you will find everything you need to host those unforgettable dinner parties. Hello. For those of you who love to work from home or just love a beautifully organized home office space, we have impressive home office furniture just for you. Now, let's explore our bedroom furniture. Take a look at these sets, best of its kind, and it's available in various sizes and finishes to match your decor. That concludes the tour of our showroom. I hope you enjoyed it as much as I did. Visit us soon or log on to our website.
The problem is not that there's not enough jobs. The problem is that we are not valuable enough. I guarantee you, if somebody is very valuable, they will get a job. Stop crying and start building. Social media and AI doesn't care that you are an introvert. It doesn't care that you are shy. It doesn't care. This is where the market is happening. NSS is done at the wrong time. People should be getting real life work experience in the first or second year. There's a difference between you and your work. I may like you, but your work is not good. With the rise of AI, things are moving too quickly for you to say, no, this is how I studied in school. This is how I am. You're going to get left behind. This is the best time ever to start a small business by yourself. Young Ghanaians, unfortunately, have defeatist mentality. They've given up. They're waiting for the government to do something for them. It's unrealistic to think that you should have a level of success the average person doesn't have without paying for it.
What is too much of a cost for success?
Sometimes the practical advice is so simple that people think, no, that's too simple. Give me the secret sauce. I'm in it right now. I'm experiencing it. I don't have many friends. I don't know what I'm doing.
Thanks for staying with us. To other stories now. President John Mahama has expressed concerns about how chieftaincy and land disputes have become major sources of conflict in the country. Speaking during a courtesy visit by the Eastern Regional House of Chiefs, he disclosed that government will begin work on 3 regional hospitals in the new regions this year and will cut sword for the construction of 3 others next year.
We're reaching important milestones. And we need to prepare for those milestones. One, we're coming out of the IMF program. It's coming to our end. We have the final review coming up by next month. But we intend to, beyond the IMF program, still keep the fiscal discipline that has resulted in the stabilization of the macro economic environment. The Eastern Regional Hospital stalled a bit. I've asked that the contractor go back to site and we pay him so that we can complete it and have the Eastern Regional Hospital. The other new regions too are going to receive regional hospitals. That is the 6 new regions. We're starting with 3 of their regional hospitals this year. And next year, we'll cut short for the next 3 for the new regions. Recently, I was in Korea, and we discussed the issue of the University of Engineering, Science, and Agriculture in Bonsu. And I think that that is an institution that we are activating as quickly as possible so that we can create more room for our young people who are seeking tertiary educational opportunities. But one area of concern is security and conflict. And we realize that a major contributor to conflicts across the country is also the chieftaincy institution and issues of land boundaries. We believe that it's something that we need to work with the National House of Chiefs and the Regional House of Chiefs on. The 1992 Constitution barred government from interfering in chieftaincy matters, and it said that issues of chieftaincy disputes should be handled by the chiefs themselves. But it looks like it is difficult. Government only intervenes when law and order breaks down, but we cannot interfere in the customs and usages of the chieftaincy institution.
Well, the minority in Parliament is backing a government directive to international mining firms operating in the country to shift operations to local firms by the end of the year or face sanctions. The directive follows new local content rules introduced requiring surface mining to be done by fully owned Ghanaian firms, while underground operations should have at least 50% Ghanaian ownership. Deputy Ranking Member on the Lands and Natural Resources Committee and MP for Menchia North, Akufo-Addo, says the directive is not new and is in compliance with an existing legislative instrument.
Ghana in the year 2020, under the former administration of Nana Akufo-Addo, passed an LI, that is the LI 2431. That is the Minerals and Mining Local Content and Local Participation Regulations of the year 2020. We stipulated, amongst other things, a localization process or program that will require all mining companies in this country to follow. And it primarily gives a 6-year period for all of these things to be done. This whole idea is not a new idea. It is an idea that has existed from the year 2020 to now. And almost all the mining companies in this country, almost, I say almost because with the exception of 2, if you go to Anglo Gold, Ashanti, Biapre mines, all of these mines have local participation in those mines in terms of even as to what you can bring in, the number of expatriate workers that you have to bring in, clearances, with the exception of only 2 mines that were left. That is the Ahafo and the Achim mines that were being operated by Newmont. Those are the only 2 mines. And with that 2 mines, even the Achim mines now is under the operations of Zenjin. This has existed with us passing the LI in the year 2020 for us to go that way so that we can have a retention in terms of expertise, training of them here, and even Ghana owning portions of how these mines and the resources are being mined in our country. So, Kwaku, it is not a new thing.
Well, he adds that Ghanaian firms have the qualification to handle the mining operations of these firms.
You see, this whole idea was that we wanted to deepen and enhance through local participation. If you want to even bring in an expatriate worker, you would have to go and seek qualification from the Minerals Commission. And let me give you a classical example. If you look at Schedule 1 of the LI, the first schedule of the LI, it gives the categorization. When they have unskilled labor, you have skilled labor, you have clerical, you have technical and supervision, you have management in terms of even numbers. At commencement, unskilled labor, you are not supposed to have any expatriates in that. Skilled labor, you have only 10%. Clerical, you have only 5%. And by 2 years' time after operations, they all have to be 0%. When you go to technical and supervision, 5% up to the 2 years, and from the third and fourth year going, 0%. And up to the senior management level, you have a maximum of only 2, regardless of whatever positions that they are. So if there are 100, you have only 2. So yes, and in Ghana, if you have an open or a surface mining, it must be 100% Ghanaian who would have to go into the excavation and all of this.
While still in Parliament, the minority and majority are divided over possible amendments to the Anti-LGBTQI+ bill, as Parliament has begun stakeholder engagement on the new bill. Well, this engagement follows Speaker Alban Babing's referral of the bill to the Constitutional and Legal Affairs Committee after laying it on the floor. The matter of controversy, however, is whether the bill should be passed in its current form or it must undergo major amendments. First, listen to the position of the Deputy Ranking Member of the committee, Hassan Tampoli.
Everybody has accepted the content of this bill as it was passed, and everyone in Ghana accepts that this is a bill that is fit for purpose.
Some other institutions have raised some concerns about some of the provisions, and it is therefore important for us to look at those areas critically.
Well, the majority has, however, opposed this.
In the case of the last Sky versus Parliament of Ghana and Attorney General, which matter was eventually, these are matters regarding LGBTQ triggers a lot of constitutional issues. If you go into our constitution, particularly chapter 5, which talks about the fundamental human rights, of course, you can look at Article 15, which talks about the dignity of the human person. You can look at Article 17, equality before the law, and Article 21, freedom of expression, conversation. But we must also take cognizance of Clause 2 of Article 12, which speaks to the effect that these rights are not absolute. These rights are subject to the right of other persons, subject to the public interest. I am of the opinion that since the last bill, there's been some additional developments, some concerns have come up. Some other institutions have raised some concerns about some of the provisions, and it is therefore important for us to look at those areas critically, fine-tune it, and then present it before the House.
Well, to other stories now, we also know that one of the key sponsors of that bill, the anti-LGBTQ bill, Sam George, has also been responding to criticism that he has been silent so far.
One of the reasons my chiefs and people had returned me to the 9th Parliament was because they thought I had unfinished business from the 8th Parliament, which was the passage of this bill. And so I indicated that I was going to reintroduce the bill even as a 7th minister if I was approved by Parliament. I have heard people who have said Sam George and his colleague sponsors have abandoned. We've run away because I've been appointed minister. Chair, the process is the process. And I'm grateful to my co-sponsor, Honorable Intim Forjo, who had cause to go on national media and say that that is not the case. He's worked with me, and I appreciate his candor on that matter. But let us also be clear, there is no bill before President Mahama today. And so the calls from very respectable groups like the Catholic Bishops' Conference are very well placed because of how sensitive and important this is. From the office of the Chief Imam, very important calls have been made. We've been told by the Chief Imam spokesperson that the Chief Imam's pleasure is to see this bill passed before he is called to his maker. I believe that Parliament has a responsibility to grant the Chief Imam his wish and grant the Catholic bishops their wish by making sure we do what we have to do expeditiously and placing this before President Mahama. And then we can collectively demand that President Mahama signs the bill. I have all the assurances that he will do the necessary when we place the bill before him.
Well, time now for our climate evidence series. Located along the White Volta, the Northeast region remains a land of agricultural potential. Since 2008, the annual spillage of the Bagri Dam in Burkina Faso has worsened the climate and geography of the region and turned its agrarian lifeline into a source of displacement and debt. Today, survivors want a non-partisan commitment to the construction of the Palugu multipurpose dam to ease their burden. Isaac Nonya has more in today's climate evidence.
The Northeast region is defined by its rural landscape. It's a mix of vast mountains and rocky terrain that limits farming to specific fertile areas. However, these same limited areas have become the epicenter of a recurring disaster. Since 2008, the spillage from the Bagri Dam has consistently devastated communities, including Mongnore, Wulugu, and Murugu, among others. The rainfall patterns of 2022 through 2024 have been the most erratic on record. For the residents here, climate change isn't a theory. It is the sight of their homes and livelihoods dissolving into the white volta. Among those picking up the pieces is 60-year-old Abanga. She is one of over 200 farmers who has watched hundreds of acres of crops submerged in a matter of hours.
Na ebizia ye kakra ji se ye ne saa wo ba ko school krampa wo nya school fees ya nkwatu aka an ma do no mu bie nsuo na nsuo ntim betwi fa yaduane nyina so ame ye nya bi na hanso aho kire wo ha ye ni sky de ba aye business wo ba bia nsuo agya ifiri agya ya bi ne beton ama ye ba de school fees agya ya bi ne beton ade atua ne school fees eni de omedi o monta de him yeni ayibia ye do ha no so ne nsuo no fa so yeni bibia ye ton e de enti aho kire nyina.
Before we grew up, our fathers have been farming there along that side, and we also grew up and we started farming that same piece of land. And last 2025 thereabout, we realized that within a twinkle of an eye, our farm was being flooded. And we asked, and they said it's from the Bagri Dam. And actually, fact, it affected the whole of our crops, our maize, our cowpea, and all those things. And it has affected even our income.
The source of the water is the Bagri Dam in Burkina Faso. Completed in 1992, this 1.7 billion cubic meter giant was built to power Ouagadougou and irrigate 30,000 acres of Burkinabe farmland. But as climate change intensifies, the dam's capacity is frequently exceeded. To protect the dam's structural integrity, authorities must spill the excess water, sending a surge downstream into Ghana. While the spillage typically occurs between August and September, survivors are pleading for better diplomatic coordination and a more predictable schedule to allow for early harvesting. Climate, agricultural and food economic experts argue that emergency responses are no longer enough of an intervention. Professor Asa Mohammed of the University of Technology and Applied Sciences in Navrongo and Dr. Adnan Safiu of the Faculty of Agricultural and Food Economics with the University for Development Studies UDS insist the solution must be structural and shielded from partisan politics.
There have been a series of concerns about how Ghana is not serious. Yes, the other countries are a bit not worried because we are the downstream, so we should have been more serious than the others. But as we speak, if you look at the activities on the Volta, even if you just cross Burkina Faso, if I take one of the tributaries, that's the White Volta, and then it enters Ghana to the Sapelgada and the Boku side. If you just cross Burkina to the Burkina side, you see how the river is protected, and they call it the Nakambe. How the Nakambe is protected. You'll be very surprised why just across Ghana, we cannot just learn from what is going over there. Trees are well planted along the Volta. If you go there, the river is more deeper, it's not silted. Animals don't go any part of the river to drink. There are designated locations for the river for animals to enter into the river. These are all measures to prevent siltation. Now, you look at the volume of water that comes in, and we talk about the perennial flooding. You take any drone shot or just try to move by motorbike along the water from Sapelga, don't go far, just to Boku, the Boku area. You see that the river is silted. So it is not that so much excess of water that is coming into it, but the little that even comes will definitely flood because the depth of the river has reduced drastically.
The experts point to the Poalugu multi-purpose dam project and the long-awaited desilting of the White Volta River as the only viable long-term adaptation strategies to safeguard farmers' investment and life. Poalugu is designed to act as a buffer, capturing the Bagri spillage to provide flood control, hydropower, and year-round irrigation. Isaac Nunez reports for Joy News.
This story is brought to you by Joy News in partnership with CDK in Ghana, University of Ghana Center for Climate Change and Sustainability Studies, with funding from Claire R4I Opportunities Fund.
Well, let's shift our attention now to the health sector. With the clock ticking to 2030, Ghana's quest for universal health coverage faces a critical test as nurses and midwives warn that poor working conditions could undermine efforts to deliver quality health care for all. Despite government's rollout of key interventions like the insurance scheme and the free primary healthcare program, the Union of Professional Nurses and Midwives Ghana say the real backbone of the system, its workforce, remains overstretched and under supported. They say that the situation is threatening progress towards accessible quality care for all Ghanaians, especially those in rural communities. There's more in the following report.
Ghana is racing against time to achieve the 2030 Universal Health Coverage targets under the Sustainable Development Goals, which ends in barely 4 years. Through the National Health Insurance Scheme and the newly launched Free Primary Health Care Program, the government is aiming to provide essential services to all citizens. But the Union of Professional Nurses and Midwives Ghana believes the target could be actively attained if working conditions are prioritized to incentivize the health workforce, particularly nurses, to work effectively. Speaking at the 2026 Ashanti Regional Conference of the Union, chairman of the group, Kwesi Ibrahim Seidu, bemoaned the challenges.
If health will be achieved, health coverage will be achieved, you need to see that health centers, CHIP compounds, these hospitals are working effectively, because these areas are where majority of the people are. The regional hospitals and the teaching hospitals, in fact, the teaching hospital is even a tertiary institution, a referral point. So you must go to the CHIP compound health center before. And these areas are the places that the nurses have control over. So if the nurses who have control over what will make you achieve the universal health coverage has challenged, then how do you achieve the universal health coverage?
Mr. Seidu emphasized that resolving these challenges would facilitate the attainment of the universal health goals for the country.
The United World Health Organization wants the universal health coverage. That means everybody should have access to health. Health should be brought to the doorstep for the people. It should be affordable. And then the service should be delivered with some dignity. And all these things rest on the shoulders of the nurse, because if health will be achieved, health coverage will be achieved, you need to see that health centers, CHIP compounds, these hospitals are working effectively, because these areas are where majority of the people are. The regional hospitals and the teaching hospitals, in fact, the teaching hospital is even a tertiary institution, a referral point. So you must go to the CHIP compound health center before. So if the nurse who have control over what will make you achieve the universal health coverage has challenged, then how do you achieve the universal health coverage?
The annual conference of the Union in the Ashanti region was held on the theme Nurses and Midwives Anchoring Universal Health Coverage, one community at a time. The gathering deliberated on the pivotal roles of nurses and midwives in Ghana's health sector, serving as a first point of call at health facilities. Rosemont Ejewa is the General Secretary of the Union.
For our challenges as nurses and midwives, especially with staffing norms. We had over the years talked about inadequate staffing in our facilities. You go to some of the rural areas, you'd have just one nurse or a midwife providing care to members. Looking at our nurse to patient ratio in the country, 1.9 to about 1,000 of our citizens. It's way a lot of work for us, and it's increasing burnout.
For Joy News, my name is Emmanuel Bright-Kweku.
The national chairman of the National Democratic Congress, John Mahama, has pledged the commitment of government to fixing deplorable roads in the Upper West region through the Big Push agenda. He disclosed that plans are afoot by the government to construct roads that will link the Upper West region to the Northeast region for easy transportation and to improve trade and commerce between two regions. Johnson Mahama addressing separate gatherings during his thank you tour at Buzie, Dorimong, Chagu and Boli reiterated the government's commitment to completing abandoned projects that were started by the previous administration. Joy News' Upper West Regional Correspondent Rafiq Salam reports.
The selection of these venues was not strange, as they were the same communities he visited in 2024 in the run-up to the general elections, soliciting their support, which enabled the party to win power. The challenges of Doromo in the Wild West were old, rehashed, and presented on behalf of the paramount chief of the area, Nasir Tungbar Selembile II, by his secretary, Dr. Sabogo.
The late President Mills, on his first visit to the Upper West region upon assumption of office, made a pledge that he will prioritize the Wa-Doromon road, but it could not be realized. Fortunately, His Excellency John Mahama during his term awarded the Wa-Doromon Jamboso Road on contract. Work was steadily going on when there was a change of government. The project got stalled. Then most importantly, we reiterate that the Wa West district is very vast. For us in this traditional area, the only solution to these iniquities is for Doromon to have a separate district. That is non-negotiable.
While thanking the people for the massive support given to the NDC to win the 2024 polls, Johnson Asedun Ketie emphasized that the victory was to correct the wrongs of the MPP, which was a drawback of the country's development.
So we have said that we don't care who takes credit for which project. What we care about is that there is your money sunk into that project. And we must use money you yourself have contributed to complete that project so it becomes useful to you, the citizens of this country. Once the projects are completed, you can say there are projects for elephants, there are projects for horses, there are projects for birds. We don't care. What we care about is that the projects are being useful to the taxpayer.
Both the Wawes Member of Parliament, Superintendent Retired Peter Lanchere Tumu, and the Wawes District Chief Executive Richard Wulu used the opportunity to account their stewardship to the people. We are opening up a TVET institution which will be one of the biggest in the country at Ga. By God's grace, the contractor will be at site in the next week or two. However, the good news is that we have gotten some funds to complete the Doromo E-block, which has been abandoned. The NDC won to the 2024 polls with 8 out of the 11 parliamentary seats in their fold, with a promise of Agenda 1111 aimed at winning all 11 parliamentary seats. The man who led the charge for them to succeed was present. Apa was chairman of the National Democratic Congress, Abdul Nasir Sani Bunas, who assured the people that he will ensure that they get a fair share of the national cake. I want to assure the chiefs and people of Doromo that whatever is due them, they will surely get it. From Doromo, the NDC national chairman headed east and to Chago, where he met last wave of chiefs, opinion leaders, and supporters of the NDC.
The district hospital is still there. We want him to complete it for us. And the Fonsi Township Road. And then you see most of the villages has not been connected to the national grid. If they can connect them to the national grid.
The roads there, you people say he's a mosquito, but I don't think he fly come. He come with transport. He also see how the road is, so we know he will see it. He will do it.
I hope that is good for us to do the roads for us, especially the big push from Mongwe to Sumbisi. We need that road to be great, very, very good for us.
Affectionate recall, General Mosquito assured the people of the government commitment to fixing the deplorable roads through the big push road agenda.
Thankfully, we have included this main road to Yagba Kobore on the big push, and I'm sure very soon, within 2 years, this place will open as a highway. So even when you are coming from Wale Wale and you want to come here, you can come straight through overseas to this place. Luckily, we have already fixed the bridges, and so it will be done.
MP for Wais, Dr. Professor Jesao, lauded the NDC national chairman for remaining faithful to the people.
In Chavo, you made a lot of promises to our people. Our people agreed with you and they gave us the vote. Today, you are back here to show gratitude. On behalf of my people, we want to tell you we are very happy that you've demonstrated fidelity to our relationship.
Why is District Chief Executive Adamu Saibu was accounting his stewardship to the people laid bare some challenges the people in the farming enclave are facing.
Why is Harvard a single tertiary institution? No training college, no nursing training college, no agri training college. It's our biggest priority. Any proposal we bring to your desk, whatever you can do in your capacity to get us a tertiary institution, we will appreciate it.
Reporting for Joy News, Rafik Salam.
Duty bearers of education in Volta and OT regions are adopting the use of technology to measure and assess education outcomes of learners. The use of technology, they argue, would help measure education outcomes and take prompt decisions to improve upon education delivery. There's more in the following report.
The Ghana Education Service is undergoing a significant transformation aligned with the national priorities to improve learning outcomes, promote equity and efficiency, and strengthen accountability at every level of educational system.
It is for this reason that district directors of education in Volta and Oti regions have met to deliberate on the adoption and the use of a digital platform for effective monitoring and real-time decision-making in the education sector in the two regions. The digital platform in question collects data on learners and their progression in the course of education. The system identifies high performers and those who need some remedial tuition to maintain average academic scores. Francis Yao Agbamadi is the Volta Regional Director of Education. According to him, the exigencies of the time require the use of technology that will ensure real-time decision-making.
This digital platform is designed to streamline data collection, reporting, supervision, and evidence-based decision-making across municipal district directorates. Through its effective implementation, we will be better positioned to, 1, monitor school performance indicators with greater accuracy and in real time.
Vincent Godot is the Volta Regional Chairman for Conference of Heads of Basic Schools, COPS. He says teachers have already embraced the system.
The system that has been deployed is a very effective system. We had an earlier version, which we refer to as Results Analysis Software System. That system was very, very effective. In fact, we rolled that system out in 17 out of the 18 districts and municipalities that we have in the region. And as I speak currently, my colleagues are using it. And they are very excited with the use of that system.
Togbe Jidua I is the coordinator for basic education for the Volta Regional Education Directorate. For him, it is the era to deploy technology to measure education deliverables.
We have had situations where we find it difficult to do proper monitoring of the activities across our schools. But this time around, with this platform, with the click of the button, as a duty bearer, you are able to determine what is happening right from a school, even up to a classroom, and you can even zero in on a child to know what exactly is happening around that child in terms of performance generally in the school. So this is going to put our call center managers and for that matter teachers, who are the principal actors in the entire education delivery enterprise, to be up to speed with their work. I think they have to rededicate themselves because the system will tell you out if you are unable to perform according to what is expected of you.
Edwin Ketomanya is with Keep Premium Solutions, the developers of the platform for education outcome measurement. He says the platform has been designed taking cognizance of Ghana's data protection regulations. Peter Senu for Joy News.
The Municipal Chief Executive for Gushegu, Abdul Hafiz Adam, says the Assembly is working with stakeholders, including traditional rulers, to resolve a boundary and chieftaincy dispute that flared on April 12, 2026 in the area. The conflict linked to the enskinment of the Chief of Yidan has affected 5 communities and led to the destruction of homes, foodstuff and livestock. The MC made the comments while leading the Municipal Security Council committee on a visit to the area to assess the extent of damage.
The Municipal Security Council toured the 5 communities to assess the havoc the conflict had caused. Speaking to the media after the tour, the MC for the area, Abdul Hafiz Adam, said they were engaging with the stakeholders to come to the table.
We need to bring them back to the discussion table. We need to involve the Gushena, we need to involve the chief who is responsible for that area, the Zantelana, and also the 2 feeding clans, so that they can come back to the table for us to negotiate. But what is more important is that we have escalated this to the Regional Security Council level. So WESEC is also now involved. Even the Interior Ministry, they are aware of it. That is how come they have imposed the curfew in those areas. But in the meantime, Assembly, we have been able to mobilize some blankets. We have also been able to get some basins, buckets, basic things that they will need to be able to restore themselves back as we look forward to getting zinc.
He said they have also been able to assess the area and would mobilize resources for the people.
We are going to send our NADMO officials for them to go there to register the displays so that we can have data, accurate data, as to the number of people who are affected, so that with the local resources that we have, we can be able to distribute the resources to reach as much as possible as far as the damage is concerned. But we have also reached out to other organizations. We have written to banks, we have also written to other organizations that can be able to support us. But in the meantime, Assembly, we have been able to mobilize some blankets. We have also been able to get some basins, buckets, basic things that they will need to be able to restore themselves back as we look forward to getting zinc.
The chief of Pabuni, one of the fielding side, Talibe Mawum, who spoke through an interpreter, said if the newly enskinned chief of Tadin returns to the community, the conflict would not stop.
You were here in 2024 because of peace, and today you are back again because you need peace. But the only way to sustain that peace is to prevent the man from returning to Yidan, because if he comes, there will be no peace.
Government is supporting a locally developed autonomous farming robot described as a major step towards modernizing Ghana's agriculture and moving away from traditional manual methods. Deputy Minister for Food and Agriculture, John Dumelo, says the innovation aligns with government's push for efficiency in the sector, shifting farming from hoe and cutlass to more efficient methods. He was speaking at the launch of the farmer robot by Ghanaian agri-tech startup 3FarmMate. Here's a report by Clinton Yeboah.
Many farmers in Ghana continue to use outdated techniques, limiting their ability to produce adequate yield or even diversifying production. The development of the farmer robot is revolutionizing the agriculture landscape by automating planting, fertilizing, and crop management with high precision and minimal human supervision. Deputy Minister for Food and Agriculture, John Dumelo, speaking at the launch of the farming robot, explained that the innovation by 3FarmMate will improve efficiency of farmers.
For a group of young Ghanaians to come up with this innovative machine, I think is a step in the right direction, and government is fully in support of that. Farming is lucrative. Farming is lucrative when it's done at the right time and at the right place. If you look at our recent tomato issue, it's all because we don't produce enough in the dry season. And so if a young farmer comes to me and says he wants to get into farming, I'll say, look, get into tomato production in the dry season. And so with something like this, it's going to increase efficiency. It's not about the size of land that you have. It's about what you can produce from that size of land that you have. And so this is innovative, and this is something that I can't wait to see it on the field for most of the farmers to be using across the country.
The farmer robot is designed for planting, fertilizer application, and weeding using navigation and AI vision systems. Co-founder and CEO of 3Farmate, Clinton Anani, described the launch as a landmark movement for Ghanaian agriculture. He says robots' AI-driven decision-making makes it suitable for remote and rural areas where internet or GPS signals are unreliable.
A robot that we built here in Ghana from first principles to be able to address the farming situation that we have in Ghana here, which is the fact that we don't have enough farm hands to till the land. Our populations are growing and we need to be able to feed ourselves. Also a means to scale farming globally, not just in Ghana or in Africa. Farmer can work pretty much anywhere else in the world. Our AI systems basically make driving decisions just like the way a human operator does. It gives us the ability to deploy technology pretty much anywhere else in the world without having to worry so much about whether or not signal is available or if there is the need to have internet or things like that.
The agri-tech startup is currently raising a pre-seed funding round to scale production and make the robots widely available for farmers. Camille Nanbon from Cosmos Innovation Center indicated that farmer robot is the answer to many agriculture challenges.
We all know the problems. What we have struggled to answer consistently and at scale is what next? What is next for agriculture in Ghana? It's a genuine attempt to answer that question. And it's not with a document or a concept that only exists in PowerPoints. It's not with a vision that lives behind glass or speeches in a conference. It's with a robot. And a robot that we will all see working in the field and doing real work.
For Joy News, my name is Clinton Yeboah.
Away from that, residents and traditional leaders of Bingtiri in the East Mamprusi municipality of the Northeast region have suspended all market revenue collection, accusing the municipal assembly of neglect, lack of transparency and sidelining the community from government's 24-hour economy initiative. The decision follows a demonstration held 2 weeks ago against the regional minister and the municipal chief executive, whom residents accuse of diverting the construction of the 24-hour economy market from Bingtiri to their respective home communities. Correspondent Ilyas Utanko reports.
Bingtiri is a town in the northeast region located between Gushegu and Nakpanduri along the eastern corridor road. It hosts the largest market in the entire northeast region, attracting traders from across the country as well as neighboring Togo and Burkina Faso. Authorities confirmed that the market is the biggest source of internally generated funds for the East Mamprusi Municipal Assembly. Despite a significant financial contribution, the town and its surrounding communities have long complained of neglect. The paramount chief of the area expressed his frustration. Residents cite deteriorating infrastructure, poor sanitation, and inadequate security, despite the market's substantial contribution to the assembly's revenue. Frustrations boiled over 2 weeks ago when residents poured onto the street in protest after the community was excluded from the much anticipated 24-hour economy market initiative.
The minister himself is from Langbisi, and then his in-law is the DCE, and she too is from Sakogu. So as a matter of that, the two of them, they sit together and then they share among themselves because they are leading us.
Despite having the largest market in the region, the 24-hour economy market project, originally proposed to be sited in Bingtiri, was relocated to Langbisi and Sakogu, the home communities office of the regional minister and the municipal chief executive respectively. The regional minister Ibrahim Tia and the MCA David Bukari were accused and given a 1-week ultimatum to reverse the decision.
As a youth, our message is to the regional minister right now is we are giving him a week to attend to our message. We need a 24-hour economic market in Bintri.
However, after the ultimatum elapsed without any response, the chiefs and people of Bintri decided to block the assembly from collecting any market revenue. Residents described their exclusion from the 24-hour economy initiative as unfair, given the market's strategic importance to trade in the area.
Looking at the market is too big that people from Wale, Tamale, Charkani, Mango, Togo, they all come here to spend market. And looking at the 24-hour economy that they have given to Sakogu and then Langisunu, it's not good.
The decision took effect from April 22nd, 2026, and was communicated in a formal petition addressed to the municipal chief executive through the presiding member. The petition, also copied to the Northeast Regional Minister and the Ghana Audit Service, cites years of frustration over what residents describe as the Assembly's failure to reinvest market tools into development of the Bintri market. Residents also raised concerns over the absence of publicly available financial records detailing how much revenue is collected and how it is spent. Among their demands, the petitioners are calling on the Assembly to provide a detailed breakdown of all revenues collected from the market, along with evidence of projects funded from those resources. Additionally, the group is urging the Assembly's Finance and Administration Subcommittee to conduct a full audit into the use of internally generated funds across the municipality. They warn that failure by authorities to respond promptly could further erode trust and cooperation between the Assembly and the community. The East Mampresi Municipal Assembly is yet to respond to the petition. Elias Sutanko reporting from Bintri for Joy News.
And that's how we wrap up the bulletin. We appreciate your time and your company. For more news, please log on to myjoyonline.com for more news. My name is Fostina Sarfo. I appreciate your time and company. Have a pleasant day as you enjoy the rest of our programs.
The problem is not that there's not enough jobs. The problem is that we are not valuable enough. I guarantee you, if somebody is very valuable, they will get a job. Stop crying and start building. Social media and AI doesn't care that you are an introvert. It doesn't